We are joined today by Eric Muller at Soul Experience. He's just looking around, looking for the camera. And we are giving you a Red May tip today. We are talking about comfort while you're running. So really important stuff. I know it's just easy to get out for a run. If you've got some shoes, you can just go lace up and put them on and get out there. But that experience is going to be vastly different from running in a proper pair of shoes and socks compared to just getting out there and what you have. And so I wanted to talk to Eric a little bit about how that's going to make a difference in how you enjoy and experience your run.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Steve. And thanks again for including Soul Experience in this Run Every Day in May. It's awesome. And riding. You know what I didn't say earlier is that I'm riding now more.
So I saw that. Yeah.
You didn't see it on Strava.
No, not on Strava.
No, but I do like to commute. Like I do like to ride the bike and leave the car. Every time I can leave the car at home, that feels good. Yeah. But speaking of feeling good, having footwear that's like running's difficult enough as it is. And so having the tools and the equipment, the gear that can help you through that really makes a big difference. Often I'll see customers or typically it's people maybe that haven't been to our shop before that kind of take it for granted that the athletic shoe, the shoe they bought for athletics is going to be just fine at the gym, at playing tennis, walking the dog, cutting the grass, and doing long distance road running. And then their feet have a different idea and it shows up with some real serious difficulties. So having footwear specific to whatever it is you're going to do makes that event, that sport or whatever it is, activity, so much better, right? So this applies to most things, I would think.
I mean, speaking from my own experience, I'm a little bit of a shoe junkie, and I tend to use different shoes on a daily basis when I go for a run, which is maybe a little bit overboard. And once you get invested in running, potentially you might change your tune when it comes to running shoes. But if I'm out for a shorter session compared to a long session, compared to a relaxed session, my shoes are going to look different for each one of those runs.
It is nice to have that ability to pick your shoe based on the workout, for sure. But even if you're not at that level, having a shoe that maybe you kind of keep special for that run, and then maybe walk the dog in a different shoe, right?
Yeah. So if I'm just starting out, I haven't really spent much time running before, and maybe my running shoes, I bought them, 5-6 years ago. They've been sitting in the closet, or I've walked around in them a little bit. What should I be looking for in a running shoe?
Yeah, so there's the technology that's in all the higher end brands is really, we could spend the rest of the time talking about that. We probably really don't need to. I would say you need to trust who it is you're talking to about the shoe, because just having a shoe that's comfortable, which is key, it's got to be comfortable, it might not be appropriate for your foot shape, your mechanics, and the surface and the duration you're going to use you're running. So I like to use the example that if you put your slippers on, yeah, they're going to be really comfortable, but like, I'm not going to run 20K in these. So somewhere between what does that 20K shoe look like and how can they be as comfortable as my slippers? Where does it fit in there? So is that a great, good analogy?
I mean, I think there's something just to be said about buying your shoes from someone that actually knows what they're talking about regarding footwear, and not looking at the latest and greatest shoes that just came out and picking them off the shelf based on what they look like and throwing them on. That's a little bit of roulette that you're playing with your foot, because you don't really know how you're going to experience that shoe, or even what kind of running that shoe is made for.
Yeah, that's true. And then I'll just the next part of that people will be already thinking about is the shoe reviews, which there's a lot of, which I love to read and I love to listen to or watch. Those are tricky. I know they mean well, and it is interesting information about footwear. But I think there can be a bit of a risk. The downside of that would be, no matter what someone likes about a shoe or doesn't like about a shoe, it's still going to be unique to that runner, to that person's foot. So you can get some information, but ultimately you really got to get your foot in and you got to take them for a run. So like you said, roulette with the shoes it is kind of like that. So that's why, I mean, that's what we specialize in at Soul Experience, is that giving people the opportunity to get their foot in the shoe, take them for a run. And we're doing that now differently because we need to do it, with safely. So we have to do it with different things in mind. So we're outside doing the fitting. But you still can, we always encourage people to take the shoes for a run. That's always been the case. So a couple things with just off the shelf, if you're just going to grab a shoe. Actually, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but they really will vary in how much flexibility there is in the shoe. So whether it's in the forefoot or through the midfoot, if you can, for example, taking a high mileage road running shoe and you grab the toe and the heel and you flex it and it folds in half in the middle, not the forefoot, your foot doesn't flex as much here. It does flex in the midfoot, but not as much as the forefoot. So it shouldn't fold in half in here. So sometimes that's the case. And that's where I get back to kind of like the slippers. You can put a shoe on that folds in half at the midsole, the midpoint, and you're standing in them, they feel comfortable. But once you spend some time running in them, more than one day of running in them, your foot's really working in that type of shoe. And it could lead to a problem. You have to be super efficient, super strong foot to be able to do that for very long. So that's just one thing I want to say about the shoes. But I want to point out a couple other things that you can be in the same category shoe, how different they can look. That's why I think it's important to talk to people about footwear. So like here's an On shoe from the brand is On, O-N, it's a Swiss company. So it looks quite a bit different, like the way this midsole is designed with these clouds and these features that do the cushioning and the support. Might look a lot different than what you're used to. And then you look at a shoe like from Hoka. I'm putting this in front of my face. I don't know if that's very good. A shoe from Hoka.
No, it's better actually.
So this stuff like this now. So obviously extreme midsole, so extreme cushioning. They could be in the same category, but look a lot different. And so it can be misleading to just look at the shoes on the shelf and go, well, that wouldn't be for me, or that's too big. I mean, this shoe is as light as the first one, and it looks like it's way more shoe. It's as light, if not lighter, than the other shoes. The materials are different.
I think part of the confusion comes in too, is you might have a friend that swears by a certain shoe as well and tells you, oh, you got to go and get this shoe. I had pain in such and such a joint until I got this shoe. Now I can go out and do all these things. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be the right fit for you.
Yeah, that's true. It might spark maybe introduce you to something you maybe wouldn't otherwise try, which could be great. But you still have to get them on your feet. You still should have someone look at your feet, make some recommendations. But I mean, you should know your body and pay attention to the signals from your body. And again, they've got to be comfortable and appropriate for what you're going to use them for.
Okay. So to break it down, do you have any key points that you would recommend someone should look for when they're purchasing a running shoe? Now, if they're local, I am going to say, one, you guys get a discount, 10% off of shoes if you're in the Red May Challenge right now. So go and see Eric. But if not, there might be just a couple pieces of advice that Eric can offer you guys.
Yeah, so it would be the first one I already said about the flexibility in the shoe, where it flexes.
Yeah.
Having a solid heel counter. So that's the back part of the shoe that is fairly rigid. Like when I'm squeezing it, it's actually quite firm. If that collapses, and we have shoes where they purposely do not have a firm heel counter or solid heel counter because they're designed for something else. They're designed for your foot to be working harder in the shoe, like at the gym where you want to strengthen your foot. But in distance running,
a training tool.
Yeah, exactly. But in distance running, well, I think mostly we're talking about distance running. When I like to differentiate between just running and distance running because sprinting is a different type of running. It's all running, but they're different. Okay, so getting back, so it helps keep the body in line with the foot. So it really does help the heel and through the gait cycle having that. If you find a shoe that doesn't have that and someone's telling you it's a good distance running shoe, anyway, you might want to look again at that. That's important. And then having a cushion collar on the shoe, so that's the interior of the shoe right around your heel, can make a big difference in the comfort. And how much there is going to vary, like with the tongue. the density and the thickness. So thicker isn't always better. Sometimes like this shoe is thinner, but it's a denser foam, and it's designed to really hold the foot well. In terms of fit, when you put the shoe on, you want to have a nice, like a firm handshake, which we can't do anymore for a while, but a firm handshake between the heel and the first 2/3, like it should feel like it's holding your foot, and then some wiggle room for the toes. So the toes should be able to splay a little bit and not touch the ends. Those are key. If your toes hitting the end when you're standing there, that's too small. If you feel like your whole foot is moving around in the shoe, that's too big. So it's in that sweet spot in between there.
Yeah, I think that some people have become accustomed to different feels in their shoe, and as we know, the foot swells as you begin to add some mileage. As you're running along, so to have a little bit more room makes sense as well.
Yeah.
But some people will lace up their shoes super tight. So there's definitely a lot of advice that you can give on that kind of stuff. But that's maybe for another time.
For sure. Yeah. What you're putting in on your foot to begin with is important too. So I just want to touch on having a sock specific for athletics or for running is good. So this is Stance is the brand, but there's lots of good running socks out there made out of technical materials where it's a blend of lycra and polyester or merino wool, where it really wraps the foot. They don't get pulled into the shoe, like they don't fall down, they don't bunch up. They move moisture really well to get the heat and the moisture away from the foot so it can evaporate out the top of the shoe. Makes a big difference. These are left and right. They wrap around the arch. It can make a massive difference, especially the more running you do.
I am such a fan of good quality socks. I cannot tell you how important it is to have a good sock, because that can make or break your running experience. If you get a blister while you're running, guess what? You're probably not running tomorrow, or you're doing it very differently, and you start to alter the way that you're running and end up, hurting yourself. It makes a world of a difference. And the Stance socks, I've got a few pairs, and they are amazing. I had my doubts where like I had the ankle length one was at the crew, and I thought, well, I've got these skinny little ankles. I'm like, there's no way it's gonna stay up. But man, they maintain their form factor. I don't even know how, because they didn't feel like they were that tight. They're great. I love them. So definitely it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So thanks for that on comfort, guys. If you do have any questions, ask them in the comments below, or direct them to Eric at Soul Experience. Is it soulexperience.ca or is it Soul Experience? Yep. And so, but yeah, otherwise hit us up in the comments, or of course, Eric is open for business, so you can go and chat with him. He'll be outside. Just keep your distance, because he bites. All right. And that's it for today.